First of all, we're going to take the cover off in a minute. Maybe some of you have seen it already, but it's nice always to reveal it in the way we do. A few words really about how we've got to where we are in this car. First of all, needless to say, we've started off with XK, of course, the XK we have today. XF, which is very important to revolutionise the brand, and we did that, I think, with some success. And XJ, to really cement the design language that we're working with, and that we all hopefully understand by now. I find that I don't have to explain it anymore, so clearly more people understand it than not. Although there was a time when I had to explain everything, but we have what we have. Now, the reason that we've waited so long, really, to create this F-Type, I have said that it's been many years since I've wanted to do this car, or the team has wanted to do this car, but we've really waited to build up the brand, to get the foundations right, to get the mainstream cars in place before we put the icing on the cake. However, having said that, for me and for many people at Jag, and I'm sure for most of you here who understand the brand, this really is the centre of the brand. This is what Jaguar stands for. It was always a two-seater sports car that gave the brand the character that it had, and so that's the reason why this car is so important to us. I believe it will change things for us. I hope it'll change things for all of you. I think if we've got one failing in this world, it's the fact that a lot of people don't know who we are, regretfully. We seem to have slipped off the radar for a lot of people around the world. There's a generation that doesn't know what Jaguar is, and hopefully this is a car will bring that generation to understand what Jaguar stands for. Great design and performance, and to bring people back to the brand again that we deserve to have. So it's been a long time in the making. Now, to start off with, I'll describe the car in a minute. I won't take as long as Jerry, because I know you want to see the car. But it's important to understand that we designed and built this car from first principles. You know, there's this thing called the E-Type. It's sitting here, right here, on my shoulder, watching me, saying, you better be damn good, because it's quite a legacy to follow. But the thing was, when we created this car, was not to copy it or follow or imitate the E-Type consciously. Yes, there are one or two cues, but it's important to design and build this car from a set of first principles. And I knew if we did that, we'd end up with a Jaguar. And clearly this is the end result, that's what you see. And those first principles from a design point of view is great proportions, the best we can possibly squeeze out of it. We'll talk about that in a minute. And a very disciplined approach to everything we do. We put on the car what we need to put on, and we keep off what we don't need. And that's a very important process that we go through at Jaguar Design. Of course, the structure of the car you know well about, or hopefully. It's all aluminium. You still say aluminium here, you don't say aluminum, do you? It's aluminium, good. It's all aluminium, it's very lightweight body structure. It's even got aluminium front end now in the subframe, so the attention to weight and weight study has been huge. The weight balance is terrific. It's about 51, 40, 49, which is excellent for a car like this. And on top of that, when we built the car around the mechanics, basically it's designed around the V8, the biggest engine that we've got. When you build the car around the mechanics of the engine, you wrap the car as tightly as possible around the mechanics, because that's what a sports car is. There is no waste. This is about pure efficiency of space and mass. So with that, that's the ethos of the car. With that, I think we should take the cover off and have a look at it. We'll walk around it, okay? I've got two very pretty assistants here. It's a nice bit. Thank you, girls. Go on. So when we set out to this, we worked every millimetre we could to get the best proportion possible, and we really do work every millimetre, because every millimetre on a motor car like this counts. And I say to my team, go for 1 millimetre a day, get it from somewhere to get the size shrunk, wrapped around the car. That's 1 millimetre a day, that's 6 millimetres a week. They looked at me puzzled when I said that, but some of them got it. And of course, you know, that after a month of work, that's a lot of space in a car. 25 and 26 millimetres in the car is a lot of space to eat up. And it may sound small, but it takes a lot to get these things right. Let's just start at the front of the car. We've got a grille that the face of the car really is established from the XF and the XJ. We looked at the oval grille, the familiar Jaguar grille, the sports car grille, and I realised right away that that grille was going to be retrospective. So we decided very soon in the program not to use it. We actually modelled one with that grille on it, and the reference was just too much towards XK or indeed E-Type. So we used the grille of the XF and the XJ, and we've developed into the face that you see here. It's quite powerful. I think it's quite assertive. It's got enough of that rear view mirror look in it that the BMW driver will move over when you drive up behind him, or the Mercedes driver. And I think it's got quite an assertiveness about it. And we've got these gills at the side, which were very deliberately put there, not only to help some of the cooling in some of the models, not all of them, but also to give the car a sense of presence on the street, which was very important. And we even debated long and hard whether we should put 2 or 1 in. I said, let's just go max. If we were ever to do an R version, we could tune it up a bit more. That's if we do one, of course. I'm only saying that because I'm not allowed to tell you anything other than we may do one. Now, when we go through the car, the bonnet of the car, and this is where I talk about millimetres, this surface here is as low as we can get it. Now, when we designed the car initially, this line here is a legal line. We can't go any higher. It encroach into legalities. And this line here can't go any lower because we've got suspension underneath it. So this surface here, we worked through with the engineering department and negotiated millimetre by millimetre, get that surface down by the region of 14 millimetres. That's what makes a difference in the shape of that bonnet. And I say this because this is what matters in making a car like this look right. And it creates this bonnet bulge in the car, which clearly is Jaguar. We have it XF, XJ. Of course, that bonnet bulge goes back to the XJ, 1968. And also, it really, to some extent, is on the E-Type as well, if I can mention that name. More modern. So very much a Jaguar bonnet, these lovely sculpted wings that come around the front. Now, as you come off the front of the car, we have this line off that front vane, and there's a line you see along the side of the car that runs into the door, and then it fades away. And the way I express this line is it's almost like it fades away as a pencil leaves a paper. And what we try and do in Jaguar is when we draw a car initially, a drawing is full of spirit, it's full of life, and we try and capture that spirit and life in the sheet metal at the end of the day. Now, when a car like this goes through iteration after iteration of engineering, of manufacturing, of CAD model to clay model to drawing, these things get lost. And part of our job is to capture that and hold on to it or bring it back again. It may seem like a small thing, but that's what gives this car a sense of life in its design. And as you go along to the back of the car, of course, this line picks up over the rear of the car and drops off towards the tail. It's a very strong, very purposeful set of lines. And it's around those 2 lines that we design and build the whole car. As I said before, every millimetre counts, and we've wrapped this sheet metal as tight to the mechanics as we possibly can. That's what a sports car is about. And of course, in the body fuselage of the car, because of the nature of the legalities and everything else we have to deal with, it's quite deep. E-Types were about this size, by the way. This is double that. So you have to eat up the mass of the body as much as you can, and that's why we put form into it with these light catches at the bottom. It takes a massive weight out of the body. And then come to the rear of the car, you get this dropped off tail. Now the reason we got the dropped off tail is because I wanted something that was classically understandable in the car, that Jaguar, that you could recognize as Jaguar. Dropped off tails were always a signature of Jaguar design in the past, but of course we haven't done it because aerodynamically it's very bad. However, we managed to negotiate the deployable spoiler, in which case we drop the tail off. It's this very elegant solution. As we come around to the back of the car, what's really nice is that a Jaguar tail is all about shape. A lot of people ask me who I was thinking about when I designed this, but never mind, I won't go there. But there's a lot of shape in the car, in plan view and in profile. And of course, that's what a Jaguar tail is all about. And I always say the back of the car is actually the most important part of the car, because that's the part that most people will see as you overtake the BMW or Mercedes. And when we get around to the back, we want to take the weight out of the back. We tuck the back in. It's very unfashionable to do that. If you look around this show, you'll see a lot of the back of the cars fall out towards the bumper to hide the bumper offset. It's a designer trick. We've been doing it for years. But it makes the back end look heavy. So we've kicked it back in. We live with the bumper offset, and it makes the car look so much more elegant. So it's all tricks that we use, millimetre to millimetre, to get the car to look as tight as possible. And then the tail lamps, my favourite part of the car, is all about these slim tail lamps influenced from the Jaguar E-Type. Yes, I've said it again. But we designed them in a way that it doesn't matter if you make the reference, it's good. If you don't know the reference, and many of my younger designers didn't know the reference, it's fine, because they're great looking tail lamps. And they will become a reference for future cars, incidentally. This is a graphic we will pick up for some of our future cars. So altogether, this car will influence our future sedans as well as sports cars. So that's the total package of the exterior. Sheet metal wrapped around the mechanics with just enough room for 2 people, the roof and the trunk. The roof is a Z-fold roof. It folds up very simply, 12 seconds from opening to close and vice versa, one of the fastest in the business. And it's a Z-fold because we wanted to keep it as shallow as possible, as efficient as possible, as light as possible. So as it opens up and shuts, it takes up as little space as we need to have. So it doesn't have a tonneau in it. It's not that different from what many other people do, and I think the end result is very efficient. So when you get into the interior of the car, again, very simple surfaces. We want the dashboard to be as low as possible, and to that end, there are no center vents in the middle of the car. And the reason is, when you put the air conditioning on or heating on, they only come up when you need them, which means they'll be up all the time, of course, in Sydney because it's very warm here. They'll be up all the time in the north of Scotland, or the south of Scotland, even where I come from, because it's very cold there. But in most places, they'll be down most of the time. They only come up when you need them. And the reason for that is we want to keep the visual mass of the interior as low as possible. Then there's a very distinctive feature line that comes off the dashboard, wraps around the gear area, and it envelops the cabin, the cockpit of the car. And it makes the driver feel as if he or she were actually in a cockpit, because this is a sports car. And within that area, we have some very technical and very mechanical switches. And again, very important, because a sports car is about relating to the mechanical feel of the car. So you can actually feel something very tactile when you're driving it. Not just the steering, not just the acceleration, not just the brakes, but also the switches as well. Very tactile and very mechanical. The seats themselves are been designed from the XKRS seats. So the best seats we do in many ways, but developed for this car. The dashboard, the instrument cluster are round dials, analog dials. Again, you'd expect that in a sports car, but a TFT screen in the middle to give you all the electronic display that you might want. The gear lever, you might notice, is a stick shift on it. It's not manual, it's automatic, rather than the rotary. Again, we felt for a sports car, it was a better thing to do. It's not to say we're going to go this way for all our cars. We'll keep the rotary shift for the saloon cars. And of course, all in all, you're going to get a huge selection of interior trim colours, which will break the interior up in different ways visually, and that'll be very much the customer's choice. And just finally, in the overall package of the car, we've got 20-inch wheels. You can see that. We've got about 3 or 4 different designs. Some of them are very exotic indeed. They go down to 18s and 19s. Don't sell any 18s, please. I don't know why I do 18-inch wheels. I really don't understand it, but they'll be there for certain markets, perhaps. Hopefully not for this one. So overall, that's the new Jaguar F-Type. Thank you for listening.